Good morning and welcome to Summit. I am Jumoke Michaels. Domestic violence is not just a statistics, it's a reality affecting families, communities, and futures here in Lagos. Behind every cry for help is a story, and behind every story is a need for justice, protection, and hope. At the center of the state's response is the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, working tirelessly to prevent abuse, support survivors, and strengthen the systems that keep our communities safe. Today on Summit, we're honored to have the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, Mrs. Titilola Vivo Adeniyi. She's a leading voice, a policy driver, and a champion for those who often cannot speak for themselves. And in this conversation, we'll explore the progress made, the gaps that still exist, and the bold steps being taken by the agency to ensure that people who are being abused in any form receive the help that they need. Mrs. Titilola Vivo Adeniyi, good to be with you today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for obliging us to be in your office for this interview.
Thank you for coming, ma'am.
Thank you for all that you're also doing.
Thank you so
to help the people. All right, so to begin, can you give us an overview of what this agency stands for and what you're doing and how far the journey has been?
Okay, so the agency, Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, we became an agency on the 20th of September 2021 by virtue of the law that came into force. And our statutory mandate basically is to prevent and respond to sexual and gender-based violence. Respond holistically, because survivors of sexual and gender-based violence require different services, different support. It can be medical, legal, psychosocial, counseling. They may need to be rescued, they may need to be empowered, and of course, access to justice. And so we leverage a multidisciplinary approach, that network that was already in existence when we were still a response team. We leverage that network to ensure that once a survivor breaks the culture of silence, has enough courage to speak up and speak out, the whole referral pathway should be activated so that he or she is able to access support. In terms of prevention, we are very heavy on prevention. Yes, the jury is still out on whether you can prevent, but you can reduce the likelihood of it happening. So basically what we're doing, leveraging policy formulation, leveraging community networks, leveraging the law. We're taking the message, our prevention and our zero tolerance message to the nooks and crannies of Lagos State, mainstreaming GBV prevention into the different sectors, such as the health sector, the education sector, and even the security sector. Before we started this interview, I got a call from a hospital saying that a lady was brought in by her husband, and he claims that she fell down. Meanwhile, when they were speaking with her, she disclosed that it was the husband that beat her. So, and this just happened within 2-3 hours, and immediately it has happened, or shortly after that report was made at the health facility, it's been escalated. And that is the way to go. Mainstreaming GBV prevention and response into the different health sector, into the different sectors. For this one, the health sector.
All right, so how has the mandate evolved in response to rising cases or new forms of domestic abuse?
That's why it's important for us to keep data. Data helps us to track, data helps us to observe trends and patterns so that we can be more scientific in our programming. Over the years, we've noticed some trends. We've seen a steady increase of formal and informal reporting emanating from key local government areas. Alimosho, Ikorodu, Kushofe, Ifako-Ijayi, Eti-Osa, and of course we have Mushi and Ushudi Solo, depending on the violence that is reported. And what that has done for us over the years is to be more deliberate and intentional when we engage community members in those local government areas. Of course, there are some local government areas where we're not getting a lot of reporting. that doesn't mean that it's not happening in those areas. There are various factors that could be attributable to why we are not getting reports from those cases, from those local government areas. But what the data is helping us to do now is to go to those local government areas, understand what is going on. Is it because of proximity? Is it because of lack of access to information? Or is it because those local governments are immune from GBV, which we know is not, there's no area that is immune from this menace. And so what that has done for us is to plan, as I said. Now we have 2 sub-offices in Kosofe and Ikorodu. Close to the Primary Healthcare Center, because a lot of cases are emanating from those 2 local government areas. With the advent of technology is good, but it can also be used as a tool to perpetrate evil and violence. We have seen a worrisome trend, which is referred to as digital abuse or technology-facilitated sexual and gender-based violence, through the use of through sextortion, doxing, catfishing. People are being exposed to their private, their videos or images that were shared, in privacy, are being leaked because of their partner, perhaps, who is now disgruntled or wants to manipulate the partner to remain in in a relationship that perhaps is a toxic one. And so we've been seeing those cases, revenge porn, coming up. And as a government that is proactive, we decided to face this menace head on. And so we actually have a policy that we will be launching by the special grace of God on the 10th of December 2025, a policy framework for the state on how we are going to prevent and respond to technology-facilitated sexual and gender-based violence. And we'll be doing this to coincide with 16 days of activism, which begins today, 25th of November 2025.
All right, so you talked about this digital abuse now. Is it just an emerging form of abuse, or it's something you've been dealing with? So is it new?
It is emerging. I would say it's emerging because when we started keeping the data as far back as 2021, 2022, we did an average of about maybe 10, 15 cases. But as from 2022 to date, we've received about 135.
Wow.
So it's emerging. It's been happening, but I think it's something that perhaps we've not been able to properly grapple with because, there's so many considerations. There are jurisdictional issues. Somebody is living in, I don't want to mention, let me mention our neighbor, Ogun State. Okay. And the survivor is in Lagos. And the person in Ogun State releases the news of a person in Lagos. So the issue of jurisdiction comes in. Who would you arrest? How would you arrest him? But he's not in Lagos, right? There are also some lacunas in the legal system in Lagos for addressing TFS-GBV. At the moment, we leverage the obscene publication section in the criminal law, and of course, we have the Cyber Crimes Act. There's also low level of awareness about the different forms of technology-facilitated sexual and gender-based violence. So it's emerging, but we believe that with awareness creation, training of the responders to be able to detect the different forms of TFS-GBV, building capacity of the responders such as the police, and it's not limited to just the police gender desk. There's the cybercrime unit, the IRT. There's so many specialized formations within the police force that have been established to address issues such as this. So it's emerging, and we are hopeful that we will reduce it to the barest minimum, but we're tackling this not just from a responsive angle or a response angle, but more from prevention.
All right, so over the years, are we experiencing an increase or decrease or change in the reporting system?
We are seeing an increase in formal and informal reporting.
Okay.
As at last year, September, we started to attend to about 400 cases a month.
Sorry?
About 400 cases
in a month?
A month, yes.
Wow.
But we know that we've not even scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Because these issues have always been there. What we're seeing now is increased faith in the system. People are becoming more comfortable to report to the police, to report to the healthcare facilities, to report to NGOs, to report to government. And it's good. We're not happy that it's happening, but we are comforted by the fact that in the unfortunate instance that it does happen, survivors or Good Samaritans know numbers they can call. They know Twitter or Instagram handles they can reach out to. And I believe that that's the way to go. Of course, we're also seeing people seeing themselves as mandated reporters, Good Samaritans. Apropos, we welcome busybodies in this SGBV work, especially when it involves children. So we get quite a number of our cases from mandated reporters, neighbors. They hear or they saw that this child was abused either physically or sexually. They escalate, you know. So they are seeing themselves as their brother's keepers or their sister's keepers. And I believe that that's the way to go. When we all see that we all have a duty to play, if we are going to reduce this menace to the barest minimum.
All right, so what support systems are available for survivors? Talking about things like shelter, counseling, legal aid, medical support.
So let's take, for example, a survivor. Let's assume she calls, as we had one recently in the area of, it was, I think, Festac. So she called our toll-free line at about 2 a.m. Within 30-45 minutes, RRS officials were at her house around 2:30, 2:45 a.m. So security was provided. She was rescued. The suspect who happened to be her husband was arrested. So she was placed back into, because when the police got to the house, they actually saw her on the road at 2 a.m. 2:30 a.m. They saw her on the road, just in her undergarment. You can imagine the precarious situation she had been, even that had put her in. Right? So security came in, suspect was removed from the environment. The next day, field officers from the agency were at the house and we went to the police station. At that point in time, she had sustained injuries, so we had to refer to the health facility. Lagos State has primary healthcare centers, general hospitals, sexual assault referral centers, and they provide quality medical attention to survivors at no cost, be it domestic or sexual violence. So she was able to access medical care, medical attention. She was able to document the case, because this is sometimes the missing link when we're dealing with domestic violence. You know, we are not there. Yeah. So it typically is the case of he did it, she did it, or I did not do it. So evidence gathering, evidence preservation is key when we're dealing with such cases. So at that point, she was able to access medical attention and she was able to document. At that point, she did not know what she wanted. And as professionals, we are not there to tell the survivor what to do. We are there to counsel on the options available and empower the survivor to take a decision that they would run with, they will own and run with, so that it will not be said that government told me to stay with my husband or government told me to leave my wife. So we have a case manager who is a trained social worker explain the different options that exist, letting them know that there are always options. Survivors have options. It may not be the best, but there are options. So this lady in particular, she said, oh, for now she wants to be safe. She wants to be in a shelter. Don't forget that the suspect had been arrested. She said, no, she wasn't safe in that home because his family could come at any time and there could be reprisals because the case was reported. So we placed her in a shelter temporarily for about 3 days, and then we reconvened on Monday, where we brought them into the office at her request. She didn't want to pursue the criminal angle or the criminal path. She wanted a sort of mediation where they both discuss and say what do they want going forward. So they came into the office on Monday, and this is a real life case, showing you the different services that the government has put in place. And so when they came in, they met with an ADR officer, an alternative dispute resolution officer / family life engineer, whose role is to listen, guide the conversation. in certain instances, the officer can put their foot down because we are government. And especially if there's evidence and we fear that, if the needful is not done, death is imminent. Because let's not forget, every domestic violence case is a potential murder case. So at that opportunity, at that meeting, she was able to speak her mind, speak what she's been going through. And of course, he had an opportunity to say what he's been going through. And what was the resolution? For her, she said she wanted separation. Not divorce, she wanted separation because she felt that her life was threatened. Upon further disclosures, we were made to understand that the children have also witnessed the abuse. The first child was, I think, 7, the second was 5. Right. So what they agreed to do, maintenance, how he will be providing for the children, who will have the children, how he will have access, all of those things were discussed and put in writing. Both of them signed. So that is justice for her.
Oh, yeah.
But we also know that, this is a traumatic incident. Children have been exposed, so we need to provide psychosocial support for them. And so we also referred to the clinical psychology department, where they are able to access free psychosocial support
For the children.
And for her. We can't force it on adults. We can only encourage, let you know why, what is the need for you. We don't charge. We just say make yourselves available. And then fast forward, we never close cases. So we say, okay, we adjourn for 3 months. Let's see, maybe the psychosocial support, the counseling is able to assist in your communication and perhaps is able to bring you back together. But it's also an opportunity for you to receive information firsthand, empowered enough to take a decision for yourself. We believe in client self-autonomy. It's important.
Yeah.
And so when 3 months lapsed, they reconvened and she was like, she's done. She can't go back. She has seen that she deserves better. This person has maltreated her. Her children are in a safer place. But then issue of, okay, how can she cope? Because she was financially dependent on this man.
Yeah.
So issue of empowerment comes in. Okay, madam, what can you do? Before I got married, I used to sell. I used to do. Okay, what do you need to pick up the pieces of your life and start again? Oh, I've even spoken to this person. This person used to supply raw food to me. He said that if I do, so that's where empowerment comes in, right? And we have a trust fund for domestic and sexual violence survivors. So for high-risk survivors, we have a trust fund that you can access. It's a grant, not a loan. So they go through a rigorous process, and then if it's for business, they are trained, because we don't want to just give you funds. They are trained, they are certified, and then the funds are given for the purpose for which you applied for. Or if it's accommodation, we pay directly to the landlord. But it's an amount that you can pay subsequently. So you can't bring a bill of 2 million and then next year, how are you going to cope? And you don't have a source of livelihood. So I said that to say this. You see the different services that survivors, that particular survivor required. Medical, legal, psychosocial, ADR, case management, empowerment, and of course access to justice. So these are the services that the state government has put in place. But survivors will not be able to access any of these services if they do not report.
Now, at what point do you encourage them to report?
Immediately it happens.
Immediately the beating starts?
It doesn't.
Or
most times it doesn't even start with beating. Most times. It's very rare that the first violence encounter will be with physical. Typically it starts with verbal, emotional, silent treatment.
So even at that point, you expect it to be reported?
It should be reported. And it's important that people realize that domestic violence is not something you can wish away. You cannot afford to bury your head in the ground and be in denial. DV doesn't stop unless it's checked. Checking does not necessarily mean to need to get to court. Checking can be, let me call somebody that this person fears and reveres. Call this person to order. Let me go to my pastor, let me go to my imam. But don't be in denial. Don't act like as if, oh, he didn't just raise his voice at me, or she didn't just break my laptop. Because the more you do that, the more you're in denial, the more the violence escalates.
But do you agree that these days, many women, let me say, are trying to avoid counsel from pastors, from imam, because they have a way of saying endure or pray more,
Submit.
submit. So what do you say about that?
The truth of the matter is that we are very religious.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, a good number of people that are experiencing violence will feel more comfortable speaking with their religious leader than speaking with government or an NGO.
Okay.
And that is why it's important for religious clerics and religious institutions to know that they play a pivotal role in preventing or encouraging the perpetration of GBV. And that's why over the years we've been very deliberate in engaging with religious leaders. Okay. Not from a negative standpoint that, oh, all religious leaders, they are bad. No. We leverage on the power that they wield. Once they mount their pulpits, once they make pronouncements, people listen, people obey, and people adhere to their instructions. So what we are saying is this: a survivor has come to your church, your mosque, reported. Yes, you deploy counseling, it's normal. But the survivor comes again. You deploy the same counseling. No, you need to know where your intervention stops and where government or civil society or police should take it up. Okay. You can't keep mediating.
And there's no change.
And so far, so good. In the past 1 year, we received cases from, I think, over 30 religious institutions. It had never been, it never happened before. That we will be seeing cases from a church or a mosque. We have mediated though, but it's like government needs to step in.
Yeah.
And that is the way to go. When there is no more safe haven for perpetrators, they can't hide behind the church. They can't hide behind the mosque. They can't hide in the community. They will be named and shamed. That is truly the way to go.
All right, no. We'll talk more about female victims. Now let's talk about male victims, children, and the elderly. How do you support them?
Wow. So let me start with children. So children, there's a whole referral pathway for children. There's a ministry actually devoted to children, Ministry of Youth and Social Development. So in cases that involves abuse against children, we work in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. You know, they are looking at best interests of the child, as we are. They conduct assessments. A case in point, perhaps the child has been physically abused. Let's not use sexual, physical abuse by the parents. And the violence is so severe that it will be unwise to keep that child with the parents. And it will also be unwise to allow that parent go scot-free. At that point in time, a decision has to be made. Especially when it has become community, it's known by the community. Because it happens like that, where it's the community that reports. So they reported to government, so they are watching. What is government going to do? You know? So we also have to send a message that you cannot do this. I mean, how can you use a scissors or a razor blade, make incisions, cut the child, and then put pepper on it? And the people are talking to you and you are saying, it's my child, government did not. What message are you sending? So at that point in time, we take a decision. Is this such that we need to go in and arrest the perpetrator? Ministry of Youth and Social Development conducts an assessment. Should we place the child in a home, or is there any other trusted family member that this child will be safe with? And if they find out that there is none in Lagos, they keep the child temporarily, because it's not our intention to institutionalize children. Children have a right to grow up in a family setting. And then perhaps when we engage with the perpetrator, who is the parent, what is going on? You may find out that there are some mental health issues. Or you may find out that sometimes it's transferred aggression. They are transferring aggression that from the violence they are receiving from their spouse onto the children. It's not an excuse. But you know, when you are addressing a problem, it's good to go to the root, right? And then they deploy whatever, either it's counseling or whatever kind of punishment or assessment, whatever kind of treatment they determine to do for such a parent. So that's for children. There's a whole referral pathway, a whole statewide response for children. For the elderly, that's another emerging issue. I think it was just last week we got a case of a 40-year-old child that had beaten his 85-year-old mom. Ooh, beating her up. So, you know, it's so dicey, our culture, our society. How do you report your child? It's like an embarrassment, it's a taboo, you know. But this mother is dying.
An 85-year-old.
She's dying in silence. You know, then sometimes you hear that, you know, there's some substance abuse.
Yeah.
That is a driver for that violence, you know. So issue of rehabilitation, you can imagine the mother cannot even get herself, she's already thinking of how she can rehabilitate the child because she feels that it is because of this substance abuse that he or she is perpetrating this violence against her. So again, it's a collective approach. You know, yes, you remove the child, but we all know that this child needs help.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so we also refer to either Ministry of Youth and Social Development or private rehabilitation facilities, and of course, the Ministry of Health is very useful in that regard. But it is an emerging issue. It's very heartbreaking when you see a parent reporting that their child is physically abusive or just constituting a nuisance in their time when they should be rested.
Exactly.
They are coming to report their child, or a sibling is reporting the child. It's quite heartbreaking. But there are referral pathways that we activate to ensure that, you know, the survivor is able to access help. For men, it's the same way we respond to a woman.
Men hide a lot, right?
They do. Although they are speaking up now. I mean, last year we attended to about 933 men. Whoa. The year before it was 300. So we've seen a sharp increase. But we know that, you know, patriarchy and socialization doesn't or will not allow a man to voice out because he may be mocked, he may be shamed, you know. And that's why we've been very deliberate as to curating programs for men.
Yeah.
You know, so that we emphasize the fact that yes, we know that women are more on the receiving end, but men are also victims and men are also survivors. And so it's important that we're deliberate in engaging the male folk.
All right, so let's talk about enforcement gaps, especially between the police and the judiciary, because I know you work hand in hand with them. So what is the relationship like and how well has it been used over the years, you know, on these issues?
So I always say we're in a symbiotic relationship with the police and of course the judiciary. And it's deliberate because, you see, cases are not won in court. Cases are won at investigation stage. If the investigative police officer does what they need to do during investigation, then they lay a solid foundation for everybody else to build on. So the case file is sent to the GPP, that's the Directorate of Public Prosecutions. They know what to do. It gets to the High Court, they know what to do. But the prosecutor wasn't there when it happened. The judge wasn't there. It was the police that was in charge of investigation, right? So everybody is reliant, really, on the work of the police. And so that's why over the years, we've strengthened our relationship with the police. In Lagos, we have designated police stations, referred to as family support units, that investigate these matters. We have them in about 23 divisions across the state. Efforts are on to upgrade more divisions to family support unit status. And the family support units are coordinated by the Gender Desk Department, led by an Assistant Commissioner of Police, letting you know the seriousness to which the police is using to address this issue. So what we say is, if it does happen, either domestic or sexual violence or child abuse, residents of Lagos are encouraged to go to the closest family support unit to them. So let's say it happens in Agege, for instance, you go to Isokoko. If it happens in Alimosho local government area, there are 2 designated police stations there, Ipaja and Ayobo. You go there, you just ask for family support unit. you meet with the OC, the officer in charge, and then they take it from there, right? So it's a work in progress. I don't think there's any institution that can boast of perfection, but it's a work in progress. There's continuous training, retraining on best practices for investigation of SGBV cases. And you know what? We have a cordial relationship with the Commissioner of Police, who understands the issues and gives us the necessary support that we need to, address this issue.
All right.
The judiciary, of course, Lagos
judiciary.
State is the first state to have a special offences court on domestic and sexual violence offences, and we're very grateful to the leadership of the judiciary, ably led by my Lord Justice Kazim Aluba, for supporting us and ensuring that survivors are able to access justice when they approach the courts.
All right. So beyond response, what preventive strategies is the agency implementing, and is it working?
We have several. What we've done is to divide our key stakeholders, children, young people, community leaders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, market men and women, our key stakeholders, including the police, social workers, guidance counselors, doctors, nurses. We've come up with different programs for each of these categories of people. So for instance, children have a role to play in their own protection. They have a role to play. So whilst we build capacity of parents to be able to detect signs of abuse, whilst we build capacity of guidance counselors and school social workers and school administrators to keep their educational institutions safe, children also have to be empowered. And so over the years, we've come up with different programs. We have booklets for children, where we speak to them in an age-appropriate manner, talking to them about body parts, safety, boundaries, good touch, bad touch, grooming, how to escalate, who to escalate to, So we empower them with relevant information. And so far, so good. We're seeing that children are becoming more empowered. Children are becoming more knowledgeable. When we go to schools and we're speaking to them. Gone are the days where you talk about abuse and they're just looking at you. Now they raise up and they're abuse is. So it's not just DSVA. Even the education sector is ensuring that these issues are mainstreamed into our various curricula. So that's what we do, particularly for children. Religious leaders, we just recently curated an online course for religious marriage counselors. So the idea is for intending couples. Intending couples undergo premarital counseling. So we're empowering those marriage counselors now to be able to prefer counseling, premarital counseling, and address GBV. Because a good number of survivors will tell you that they saw the signs before the marriage, but sometimes they do not appreciate the gravity of what they were about to go in. Or sometimes they saw it, but they assume he or she will change in marriage. God will use me to change the person, right? So marriage counselors have a role to play whilst counseling intending couples. We're doing a lot with the traditional rulers because they are custodians of culture, and quite a number of these cases go to them before it gets to us. Some may never even get to us. If they adjudicate on these cases, they settle these cases, the cases may never get to us. So it's important for us to routinely engage with our traditional rulers. And of course, community leaders also. Sometimes they serve as first responders. These cases are first reported to them. And sometimes they may never escalate to us. It's not all cases that may need to be escalated to us. If the needful is done at the community, why not? But you cannot mediate rape, for instance. Neither can you mediate defilement. Any sexual activity cannot be mediated upon. It's a no-no. It's an offense. So there's a need for that continuous dialogue with them. And building their capacity as watchdogs, first responders, to be able to signpost survivors when they report, in their community. So a lot of prevention is a lot of advocacy, a lot of programs designed and geared that prevention is ongoing.
All right. All right. So you mentioned that the 25th November is always the World Day against
elimination of violence against
women and
girls.
Girls. Okay. So I know you said you have a series of programs lined up for how many days?
16 days.
60 days. All right. So 16. Can you just tell the viewers about that?
Yes. So we start off today, the 25th of November. We're going to LASU, Lagos State University, where we'll be engaging young people on technology-facilitated sexual and gender-based violence, which is in keeping with this year's theme of eliminating digital violence against women and girls. And then throughout, from 25th of November to the 10th of December, we're going to different communities, different local government areas, taking our zero tolerance message against all forms of technology-facilitated sexual and gender-based violence. And then we end on the 10th of December with our launch. We'll be launching the Lagos State policy framework to prevent and respond to technology-facilitated sexual and gender-based violence. So it's about to be a busy few days.
A busy few days, all right. Now, I know you have reporting lines for the agency, because people want to, people, sorry to say, but people have these, they really do not want to go to the police station to report, when things like this happen, when there's abuse. So I know they might prefer to want to report straight to the agency. So in case they need to report, what are the lines they can call?
They can reach out to us on our toll-free line, 08000 333 08000 333. You can also reach out to us on 0813 796 0048, 0813 796 0048. They can visit us on any of our social media platforms at Lagos DSVA, at Lagos DSVA.
At Lagos DSVA. At Lagos DSVA.
Okay. And they can come into the office. Our head office is at Novel House in Central Business District. But if you call us on that number, we'll do well to refer you appropriately.
Right. So sorry, let me ask this final question. When people report these cases, you said something about having evidence. So what are these evidences you expect them to have?
It can be pictorial evidence. It can be, you go to the hospital, you tell the doctor or the physician what happened to you. Please don't say you fell or you hit your head. No. Tell the doctor what happened. Your husband or your wife assaulted you, so it's documented. You go to the police station, you don't want it escalated, but you document, you write a statement. That's evidence. Or people witnessed it. Get those people to record what they saw, right? Just help us to help you. Because many a times it's quite heartbreaking when a survivor comes and there's no real evidence. We cannot move, because if we want to go to court, it's not about emotions or sentiments, it's about facts. It's about the evidence adduced before the court. And so we also have a self-reporting tool. If you go to ecoselfreport.ng, ecoselfreport.ng, you can actually go upload the evidence you have and just keep it there. Whenever you're ready to pick up the case, you have a code, you have a tracking number that we can use to pull up your data. This is important because, especially when it's DV, sometimes survivors keep the pictures and then the spouse goes, deletes the picture, or destroys the phone or whatever appliance or gadget that they use to keep that record. It could be a voice note, it could be a recording, it could be a video recording, So if you upload that evidence on the ecoselfreport.ng, at least it's safe. It's safe. So whenever you want to activate the case or bring up the case, you know that your evidence is in a safe place.
All right, but those evidences are more of when it's physical.
Yes.
You said even if it's sexual or emotional, that can't be documented.
Sexual can. Immediately it happens, present at the designated health facility. You are literally a crime scene in motion. So please go to a designated health facility. They know what to do. They will conduct head-to-toe forensic medical examination, ask you for your undergarment. If there was a struggle, they will do some nail clippings, or they will take some nail clippings. there might be hair and fiber as a result of the contact. There might be body fluid. There might be semen still in the vaginal area. Just present immediately to the health facility.
So if it's verbal, you can record the
verbal
voice
can
note.
be recorded.
Okay.
Emotional, that's where, you know, speaking with a psychologist comes in. The psychologist will take history, assess, examine, and then the psychologist's report is evidence. I met with this client based on our interaction, based on our assessment, based on the tools that we deployed. These are our findings. That is evidence. Right? That is evidence. But you must report. And the charge is, please report tirelessly.
All right. Thank you so much. It's such an interesting conversation. And the end point is that you don't have to keep silent. Report if you're going through any form of domestic or sexual violence in your family or in your community. Whatever is happening, please report. Lagos State has created this avenue to ensure that all Lagos residents are safe. It doesn't matter your language, it's not about ethnicity. So far you are a Lagos resident, please report. Thank you so much for granting this interview.
Thank you so much.
I wish you all the best in your 60 days
16 days. Thank you.
programs
Thank you.
towards that event. Thank you so much. All right, so that's the end of the conversation, but like we always do, we'll go on to the next segment.